Hello there, hello there, hello there, you sexy bastards. How the devil are you all? I am exceptionally well, I thank you for asking. How are we all? Apologies if you can hear the people shouting who live near me. They're having some kind of birthday party, and I'm thinking about issuing a fatwa against the concept of birthdays. It's very annoying. Thank you, Navigator. What is this? The Twins page looks like the team playing... Oh yeah, because they traded everyone, yeah. Which is the thing to do. Either completely sell or completely buy. Don't do this halfway house shit. It doesn't work. So what are we slopping? Everything. Fucking everything. Don't forget, everybody, you can help me out, if you so wish, in the form of bitty bits. That is not the thing. Hang on, yeah, it is. Hang on. You can do bits messages. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime, give subs to the community, etc. You can do if you're on YouTube. Oh, you're YouTube. You can become a member for 99 pence. You can give memberships to the community, and you can do super chats, which I will read out because reasons. Hello there.
Good evening, Kevin Logan. As I live and breathe, how are we?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I can't complain. Actually, I went to Castleford today.
Why? Why did you go to Castleford?
I was playing Magic the Gathering.
In Castleford, specifically.
Yes.
Is there a big MTG situation going on in that particular thing?
There was a reasonably nice store there, but they were having a tournament, which was nice.
Fair enough. So you've gone to all of the big places: Chicago, Italy, Castleford.
From Vegas to Castleford, it's
all I'll say is
I'm a real globetrotter.
Chicago doesn't have a rugby league team. Boom. Enough said.
True.
Go.
True.
Is it Trinity Wildcats? I think. Is the Wakefield? No, that's Wakefield, isn't it? I don't know. I forget. Anyway, the Castleford Tigers is what I'm thinking of. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Talking of sport, though, you know who I feel sorry for? Mick Jagger. Because Mick Jagger was in the crowd at the cricket today, and I was thinking, oh, it's going to end, right? But it won't. So it'll go on till tomorrow. And at that age, you're just never sure you're going to make it, are you?
That's true.
I bet he was thinking, oh, come on, don't fucking rain now, you bastard. I'm nearly fucking 200. Bless him.
What was the line from Wayne's World? Because Keith Richards cannot be killed by conventional weapons.
But though that is true, he will live forever. But he wasn't in the cricket, and so he didn't. It doesn't matter. He mocks the concept of cricket. 5 days. Give me 100 days. Give me 100 days and heroin, and I'll be happy.
Imagine if that's what the 100 was.
100-day game.
100 to have one big 100-day game.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Yeah,
20 innings each.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Fuck it. On the same pitch as well. It'd be like a crater by the end. It'd be wonderful. Jonathan Trott. Imagine Jonathan Trott playing a 100-day game. He would have burrowed to the centre of the earth. Marking out his fucking middle stump or whatever, yeah. Anyway, enough said. England might win or not. I don't know.
I enjoyed the Formula One as well today.
Well, how did that go? It was Hungary, wasn't it?
It was Hungary, yeah. Which is usually a very, very boring race, but Lando Norris took a risk on pit stops and it paid off, which was fun. And Max Verstappen did shit, which is the important bit. In fact, I don't have any, because all of them are basically registered in Monaco now. I basically don't support any of the drivers apart from Fernando Alonso, because he's still registered for tax purposes in Spain. That's how I decide who I support, by the way.
Okay.
But I've essentially decided that all I'm doing is watching the Formula One, hoping Max Verstappen loses.
Is that because he's a tax domicile elsewhere?
I mean,
because like you say, that fits with all of them. Is he also? I don't know, a Nazi or something?
He's also just a really, really. nasty driver. A nasty driver in the way kind of Michael Schumacher was a nasty driver. Like he drives dirty.
Well, he
and
does
he
have a
wins
name
lot.
like he does have a name that like a kind of minor, kind of petty Nazi official or something.
It does.
Maximilian Verstappen, head of the local,
Yeah.
the Untersturmbannführer for Leipzig. You know.
I think his dad was actually a really, really good race driver called Jos Verstappen.
I
Jos the
remember.
Boss.
I remember Jos Verstappen from my youth. Yeah, yeah. Who was the other one that had a famous dad as well? Who I remember from being younger.
Kevin Magnussen and Jan Magnussen.
No, there was another one. Oh, bogging me sideways. I can't remember.
Blah, blah. Yeah, there was
I can't remember.
Yeah, we drove for Renault. It was the one who did the deliberate crash so that Alonso could win in Singapore.
Yes, yeah. And his dad, and I remember his dad when I was younger, and I now just feel old.
Nelson Piquet and Nelson Piquet Jr.
Boom, the PKs. Or the Peaks, as I always thought it was called, because I'm a fucking idiot. Anyway, yes,
The
those
Quet.
people. Exactly. Well, don't pronounce it weird. Just don't be weird, foreigners. The Schumachers. Well, the Schumachers were brothers specifically, weren't they? Is he dead yet, Michael, or is he alive, or what? What went on with him?
He's still vegetative, I believe.
Is he? Fucking hell.
That's
wild.
The information that comes out from it is they keep it very hush hush for obvious reasons.
Yeah. For those who don't know, he had like a skiing incident or something, and like got fucked up, and so
severe brain damage.
Yeah, the greatest race car driver ever, the most dominant, crazy like robot man is now.
I mean, actually, to be fair, Lewis Hamilton probably pips him in a lot of these regards in terms of number of races run, the percentage race wins, and the number of world championship titles.
Perhaps, but even so, okay, let's say one of.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely in the pantheon. Let's be
He's on the Rushmore, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had a Mount Rushmore, it would be Schumacher, Fangio, Hamilton, and Senna.
Oh, you'd go with Senna, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Fair
I think
enough.
Senna was just a.
He was
kind of
obviously
machine.
exceptionally good, but is some of that legacy based around the fact that because he died, he's sort of, you don't get to see the dip off at the end of the career?
I mean, that is true. But I mean, people don't take the Schumacher Mercedes years as indicative of him in his peak. You know.
True, I suppose so, but I mean, I'm always sort of wary of that when people the best thing that can happen to you is to die just after you were good. Basically, right? So like
doing otherwise known as doing a Hendrix.
Doing a Hendrix, or quite literally in a direct sense, doing a Cobain or something. Yeah, because then people don't get to see you, be Me Too'd or something. You know what I mean? No, that doesn't ruin the reputation. You get kind of idealised as this kind of figure made of stone that can never change. Whereas, like, I don't know, the Monty Python crew are mostly like wankers. If they'd all died just after like Monty Python ended, they'd be fine. But it turns out they're all pricks. Actually, no, Michael Palin seems alright, but other than that, they're pricks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, also there's a couple of things we wanted to cover today because we're a bit of a loose end. No Trevor Phillips, no Laura Koensberg.
Yeah. Well, it's good that we've both gone with train related titles, because you've gone with was it the Slop Express or whatever, and I've gone with replacement bus service for award-winning journalism.
Love it.
Which, yeah, so that's nice.
Actually, I'll tell you one piece of discourse that we can get out of the way. Because everyone is talking about it, and I feel like if we don't talk about it as Twitch streamers, that means we've kind of failed.
Okay.
Sydney Sweeney. The Sydney Sweeney thing.
She has good genes. Look, I see the joke they're trying to make, right? And it's obvious it can be interpreted as, for those who don't know, there's a denim company, and the joke is she's got good genes, as in she's got good genetics because she's a beautiful person, but good genes as in denim produce. It's a play on words, right? But some people have interpreted that as being like a kind of white supremacist-y type thing because she's like a kind of Aryan poster child, and she is. She's blonde hair, blue eyes, the works.
I remember then I was around on Facebook. There was a meme page called Taylor Swift for a Fascist Europe, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah.
really got the same kind of vibes, you know.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Most people who argue in favour of white supremacy are not great exemplars of that. Let's put it that way. Whereas she is
the very famous there's that very famous Watchmen cartoon, isn't it?
Oh yeah, exactly. Basically, they're just like these. I mean, I use the word mutant in a kind of loose sense, but in some real, proper, actual way, they have mutated from what normal people look like.
Yeah.
Nazis are really not the peak of genetic purity. So, like, if there was a person who could make the argument for white, not necessarily superiority, but like white genetic goodness or whatever, you'd look at Sydney Sweeney and be like, okay, at least you can make the argument. I'll allow it.
100%.
Because she's pretty swell in that respect. Anyway, yeah. So that so people have sort of interpreted it that way, and I don't know. Are the company necessarily playing into that? Possibly, but not in a way that I think is. I don't think they're actually trying to be Nazi. I think they're just trying to be a bit edgy and get people talking about the product. So in that sense, it's worked perfectly. But yeah, I think
exactly
it's sort of overblown in a sense, because I don't think anyone involved in this is trying to actually be a Nazi. And Nazis will always interpret things badly anyway, so who gives a fuck what they think?
I mean, I basically agree with your point, although I do think they were being explicit in wanting the undertones to be there. I think they were trying to make it be a little bit clear near to the knuckle, specifically because they know that, the people who've broken Tumblr containment will start posting about
exactly,
it,
yeah,
and it'll trend on the internet, right? Like, it's exactly the same what happened with Bud Light, it's the same what happened with Gillette, it's the same thing that happened with all of these other things, Nike and the Colin Kaepernick thing, all the people doing
outrage marketing. Yeah,
exactly. It's all outrage. It's all outrage marketing. It's earned media. There's a really good point that was made in that, in a world where everyone has ad blocker installed, you can't really advertise your product as an advert because no one's going to watch it other than people who are too stupid to scrape together the mental wherewithal to install ad blocker on Chrome or on a better browser that they use that I don't use. But in a world where everyone views social media posts, embedded social media posts, i.e. you give somebody, like with the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, you give somebody their own platform to promote it where adblock doesn't affect it because it's just a regular post which is sponsored. Or you get people to make content about your product, which is natural. That is earned media, and that's what these people. It's the only way of marketing in 2025 on social media because no one pays attention to adverts.
Yeah.
If people paid attention to adverts, Israel wouldn't be on like a minus fucking 50% approval rating in America,
true,
right?
True. Although actually, I'm fucking hell. The Zionists found my video. I put out a thing. There was a segment I did about those 40 members of Parliament, the members of the Lords that wrote to the government and said, well, actually, if you recognise Palestine, that's illegal. Total bollocks, absolute complete rubbish. Trying to hold us to international law we haven't signed. Complete idiocy.
It's worth pointing out that the reason why the Montevideo Convention isn't applicable in that situation isn't because we're not a signatory to it. Like, obviously, it was only Latin American countries, and I think North American countries too, that were signatories to it. But it has been adopted amongst common international law. Those not necessarily stipulations, but those kind of guidelines as to what.
Well, exactly, guidelines. Guidelines, not laws. Like the idea that lawyers need to get involved. It's clearly and obviously a political decision that the government makes, and that's fine.
Exactly.
It's not the prerogative of law, frankly.
Yeah, you can't, for example, break the Montevideo Convention. You can't violate it because it doesn't go towards any kind of legal precedent. The recognition of states is political.
Well, exactly. If they were to be held literally and universal, then the Vatican City wouldn't exist, and yet we know it does. Everyone has sent fucking delegations there. We accept that that's what it is, but they don't have an army or a police force or anything. So that's the Italian government that do all of that.
And on top of this, one of the main point of contention around the Montevideo Convention and Palestine is that it doesn't have set borders. And that's one of the the stipulations there, and I can think you could say the 1967 borders are a reasonable summation of where the borders should
Okay,
be.
but neither does Kosovo, and we accept that.
Well, neither does fucking Israel.
Well, yeah.
Like in the founding constitution didn't define the borders of Israel, and at time of recording, Israel claims land that has never been allocated towards it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even know its own borders because it doesn't want to
Well, that's the
admit
thing.
that the West Bank is
Yeah.
within its borders, because then it would have to give the residents of the West Bank political representation, and it doesn't want it to be the 67 borders because they want to annex the fucking territory
Yeah.
after they cleansed it.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
Israel and Palestine border one another. So if Palestine doesn't have set borders, then obviously neither can Israel by nature, because they butt up against each other. You know what I mean? Like it's like two pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. They either fit together or they don't at all. Do you know what I mean? So it has to. And in that respect, also technically neither does Egypt or Syria or various other places that border Israel, because Israel doesn't really have borders as such, especially given that it keeps fucking annexing bits of random territory around its supposed non-borders. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, Egypt's borders are contested on its south and north side at this point, really.
And there's that weird little bit that no one claims at the bottom as well, which is just weird.
Exactly. And the bit that both they and Sudan claim as well.
Yeah, so it's iffy. It's iffy. So yeah. Anyway, but I put out a video about that. Yeah, the Zionists found it because I had like 20 comments from people saying dumb shit like, "Oh, you didn't mention the release of hostages," and I went, "Because what am I supposed to do? Like, the British government aren't backing Hamas, so me saying the British government should ignore these lawyers is not me saying anything about the hostages at all." Because we're not, like, the British government isn't involved in that. How could it be? We are involved with Israel, and we should stop that. Anyway, but yeah.
Exactly.
People are idiots.
Also, speaking of Zionists being obsessed with Hamas,
Okay.
did you see the fucking, like, Brendan O'Neill, like, the forehead himself did a whole ass article about this, but it was originally a tweet from Heidi Bahram, where they were saying, well, the name Yahya has increased by a few points on the list of popular baby names for baby boys in this country, which means that Britain now loves Hamas, because they are apparently claiming the increase in naming of babies as Yahya is in any way related to Yahya Sinwar for some reason.
No, it's clearly Yahya Touré, which is a slight misspelling.
Or the guy who plays fucking Aquaman in... Oh, no, not... So, who plays one of the characters in an Aquaman film is called Yahya. I mean, it just means John the fucking Baptist.
Yeah.
That's what that means. That's the name of John the Baptist.
I love explaining to Christians that technically Allah is their God too. I love explaining, because it just means God, and it's the God of Abraham, which is the God of Christianity and Judaism and Islam. Learn your own fucking religions, you pricks.
Yeah, it's just like you try to explain to these people that Allah, when Arabic Christians say Allahu Akbar, they are literally just saying God is great for the God that Christian Zionists also worship.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you think you would know this? You would think you would know that Yahweh and Yeshua and Jehovah and Allah are the same fucking thing. They're described in slightly different ways, and they've fought lots of wars over those tiny differences in descriptions and all the rest of it. But ultimately, if it does exist, and I don't think it does, but if it does, it is the same extant creature.
To be fair to Jewish people, historically, at least they've all agreed on who the God is, right? At least internally, they've all fucking agreed, right? Unlike Christians and Muslims.
Well, until that fucking Jesus turned up the prick.
But
there was one disruptive Jewish man who went too fucking far. And the Romans brought him to justice.
Fucking king. Just declared, I am the king of the Jews. You're worshipping. Whoa, hang on. Wait a second. Wait.
J-Dog. I know, look, I'm all down with the party tricks, the water into wine. You know, you've got good stuff going on. You've got a fine act. King of all of the Jewish people. Are you sure, lad? Are you sure? Because I've got a crucifix that says otherwise, you prick.
But in terms of internal conflict, at least most Jewish people, they all just happen to agree on this stuff. Obviously, difference in level of orthodoxy, but none of this is none of these kind of differences are based upon like fundamental disagreements on like religious and theological history of the religion. Yeah. Unlike, for example, Protestants and Catholics or Shia and Sunni Muslims.
Yeah. What I especially love about the Protestants is that because it's so relatively recent, We literally know where their Bibles were written. Not just who by. We know the specific room in the specific building in King's College, Cambridge, where the fucking thing was written. Where the James Bible was literally written in a specific set of rooms. I'm sorry, lads. I don't think you can call it the Word of God at that point. The room still exists. You can go there now. It's fuck off.
No, but they were channeling God when they rewrote the stuff that people had channeled by God in the council.
Why did they write it in old-timey talk? Because it was dated when they first wrote it. They taught it's ridiculous. It's such a stupid book. Anyway, doesn't matter. Load of bollocks. They're all wrong in various degrees. And as we all know, George Soros is king of the Jews. Fact. That annoys everyone, I think. I think I've just offended all people. I'm happy with that. True. Anyway, should we get on with some actual content rather than just gibbering?
Let's do that.
Okay. So, do we want to take a look at... well, we've got some Brexit-related content. Do you want to go Times Radio and then Slop? Would probably be the best way round.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in doing that. Yeah, looking at the opinion polls and then looking at the Slop.
Yeah. So, as if this needed to be pointed out to anybody, really, Brexit has not been fantastic. Not gone super well. It hasn't really increased the general well-being of the nation, either economically, socially, whatever.
It's also incredibly funny that the people who overwhelmingly supported Brexit, right, they supported Brexit for two things: protectionist trade policy and a more hawkish migration policy, and they got the opposite of both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like the British political establishment don't serve the people, be they right wing or left wing. They just serve capital and nothing else.
Literally, like they wanted. They wanted protectionist trade policy and got free trade agreements, not just within the United States, which makes sense, but with fucking India.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got free trade agreement with India, and they wanted reduced migration, and instead we have an asylum crisis and the biggest year of immigration in British history.
Well, that million figure is killed the Tory party completely and utterly. You can't promise people to get it down and then bring it to, like, not just slightly higher than it's ever been, but, like, orders of magnitude higher than it was during the mass migration years of Blair. Like, that's just, you can't do it. You're dead. Because you can't then, when they go to you and say, well, there's this really important thing called immigration, we'd like you to deal with that. That's our number one priority. And then you promise them to get it down to tens of thousands, and they go, well, you said that before 10 fucking times and never did anything about it. Fuck you. It's very, the Conservatives don't represent conservatism, and the Labour Party don't represent even social democracy, let alone socialism. And so Brexit, right?
Whoa, hang on a minute. Keir Starmer said he was making the moral case for socialism, Kevin. Are you saying he might have lied?
I think he might have fibbed slightly. When I say slightly, I mean every single thing he's ever promised to do except the Israel bit.
I mean, that means that he might not actually be a good person. Yeah, he might actually be a bad person. He
might be a morally bankrupt serial liar.
Yeah, proven morally bankrupt serial.
True. But thankfully he's making Brexit work, so that's good. But no, some of the polling that's come out suggests that less than a third of people, if we had the rerun of the Brexit vote, would be prepared to now leave the European Union, as opposed to, of course, roughly 52% in the actual vote itself. Now, I'm somewhat sceptical of that because, again, the British public are lying bastards who will say things that they don't necessarily do at the polls. Because, of course, you've got to bear in mind that if we had that rerun, you would have a rerun of the campaign. And so you'd have Nigel Farage out there telling the same lies and Boris Johnson telling the same lies. And, Brexit people are not necessarily the most observant. And I think a lot of them would fall for the same shit again.
Yeah.
But that's the polling as it suggests right now. And so this handsome young devil on the screen is going to tell us all about him.
I guess in the broader context that people think, that Brexit hasn't worked very well for the UK, it's not so surprising that people sort of, actually, if they were to reconsider again, are more open to remaining in the EU than they were at the time.
Were you surprised by these findings?
I mean, I think given how strong opinion was and how tired people were at the time of Brexit, I guess, in some ways it is surprising to see how much things have diverged since. But in many ways, I wasn't actually that surprised because, when we asked Britons about how our relationship with the EU is going, many of them overwhelmingly say that actually things aren't going very well. So I guess in the broader context that people think, that...
His name is Chris Anus.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
Like, that's... You can pronounce it weird and go anus, but that just sounds like a Greek person saying anus. So, I mean...
He does look pretty Greek.
Well, yeah. No, he does have a Mediterranean look to him. So,
it's true. I think it's interesting with the point that he made there that people think we have a bad relationship with the European Union. We don't have a relationship. We don't.
Yeah.
What relationship do we have? Well, it was funny during the election campaign. Oh no, before it wasn't during the election campaign. It's like March last year, where Keir Starmer was doing a fucking tour of Europe, speaking to the European leaders. It's almost like chat. It's almost like everyone knew he was going to be prime minister, and that everyone just had accepted that amongst the establishment already, and it was always going to happen.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, what I will say, I think Keir Starmer, if one good thing can come of Keir Starmer's premiership, and it might literally be the only good thing he does, is the resetting of the relationship with Europe. Actually trying to row back to some vaguely sensible version of Brexit rather than the fucking hellscape we got. That would be something vaguely positive. I mean, it's really needle in a haystack type stuff, but like it's something, you know.
True.
Brexit hasn't worked very well for the UK. It's not so surprising that people sort of, actually, if they were to reconsider again, are more open to remaining in the EU than they were at the time.
Did you get a sense of what has changed people's minds, or is it a demographic change?
I think it's a combination of the two. So if you look at our age groups, amongst the Gen Z, so that's the 18 to 26-year-olds who weren't able to actually vote in the 2016 referendum, because it has nearly been 10 years now, they overwhelmingly would vote Remain. So I think by around 80% to 8% Remain to leave. But also, actually, if you look across the age...
Which is the real reason Nigel Farage opposes 16 to 18-year-olds voting, of course. Because they fucking hate him.
I mean, there is a core group of young people who, again, might vote for Nigel Farage because they remember him from saying "Hock to" on that bussy, right? Like the cameo memes. But at the most, it's what we're seeing at the moment in current polling. It's like 20-25%, which is, not a small amount, but it's still less than the other demographics.
Yeah.
They are the lowest demographic.
Age groups, every single age group, including the 75 plus, would say they would vote Remain.
But there's no doubt that, look, older people have died, and they were overwhelmingly pro-Brexit, and younger people have come on stream, so to speak, in terms of being a part of the electorate, and they overwhelmingly reject Brexit. So that will have had its impact in terms of shifting those numbers. It's a grim way of looking at it, but it's, if you want to understand what the reality of the country is, it's true. If you were, 75 back in 2016, you've got to be in your late 80s to still be with us, which is unlikely.
Although, as you do get into the 75-year-old plus age group, you're looking at about a 2% point, so it's much closer amongst older people. So there's an element of that, but also, I think people are just frustrated in terms of, they were promised a lot with Brexit, and they don't feel that, politicians have handled it effectively. So when we ask people why they think Brexit's going wrong, about 2/5 say, it was never going to work, and 2/5 say that politicians haven't handled it very well.
Does it mean that people say...
No, I definitely remember Boris Johnson putting on the side of a bus, "Everything will be shit." Vote Brexit.
I mean, there's just this incredible moment. This incredible moment in once he'd won the 2019 election, and then on New Year's Day, he just puts this picture up on Facebook of him with 2 thumbs ups, and just the text, "2020 will be a great year for Britain." Just honestly, moments before disaster.
Yeah. Exactly, Matt. Where is my Brexit pony? I was promised pony, and I am lax pony.
I mean, you did get a pony. It was called a border crisis of irregular migration, which was caused by us leaving the Dublin Protocol.
Well, no, that's just the donkey shit. I wanted the animal as well. I don't mind cleaning up the shit, but I do want the animal as well. That's it. Brexit is just the shit, but without the cat. You do have to clean up the kitty litter tray, but you don't even get to like have a little scratch of its head or anything. Rubbish.
Exactly.
To you that they would vote differently now. Is there any polling about whether that goes a step further to say actually people want to rejoin the EU?
Yeah, so when we ask people if they want to rejoin the EU, the support does come down slightly.
I think it would. Again, this is where the British people are full of poop, because it comes down slightly on the numbers, but I think it would come down drastically to the point of it being much closer again if it was explained to people what that would entail. Because the European Union aren't going to give us a sweetheart deal. The European Union are going to want the euro. They're going to want.
Well, they're going to, yeah. I mean,
they're going to want
Schengen.
They're going to exactly the exemptions we had previously, which actually was the sweetheart deal. That's gone. Those days are over. Okay, we don't get special preferential treatment anymore. As a new entrant, we would have to take all of the things that we didn't want to take in the first place.
Exactly.
So,
like
and
we
British people, the British
our feet hard enough the first time round when when we were a powerful country that they really wanted on board to get the sweetest sweetheart deal possible.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it that. They're not going to give that to us again.
No, absolutely. And I mean, frankly, they might even be even harder on us than they might otherwise have been, just on the basis that we're a really annoying fucking neighbour. Like we have fucked up the entire European Union's strategy for 20 plus years of like obstinacy and vetoing things and getting carve-out exemptions left, right and centre. Why the fuck would they want us back in that? We just fuck it up again and be wankers again and be difficult and hard in a situation which is already difficult and hard because you've got dickheads who are even worse, like Orban. You know, like they've already got a war literally on their border in that part of the world. Why would they want the added headache of having Britain in there moaning and whinging and fucking everything up again? So they'd probably be harder on us than they need
fucking
to.
waving his fucking flags.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Do they want all of that shit again? Do they want fucking UKIP people in the parliament again? Because that's what they're going to get. So
reform your cave puppy, but even worse.
Oh, God. Oh, Zia Yusuf in the fucking European Union. Oh.
I mean, the irony is that after all of this, you've made a very compelling case why the EU should not want us back in.
They shouldn't, yeah.
But despite all of this, they absolutely do.
Because we've got money.
Because, I mean, actually, because they believe in a bigger project of European unity, right? I mean, and I think it's important. I mean, my reason for at least diplomatic relationships with the European Union, even if I don't necessarily agree with all the economic precepts of EU membership, is that in a world where we're seeing geopolitical fragmentation, you want more friends. You don't want enemies. You don't want to be split. You want to have a powerful geopolitical bloc that you're a part of, that you can ensure protection against geopolitical crises, right? And America under Donald Trump, it's not a fucking geopolitical bloc that you want to be in, because he'll treat you like a cum rag. Yeah. I hate to be foul about it, but that's literally true. He will not treat you with respect. At least the EU is a kind of partnership because we're on the same similar level, right? At a time of geopolitical instability. That's going to be important.
That's certainly true, but I don't think the economics should be ignored here. That we would be, as well as we were at the time, a net contributor to the European Union in a way that there are lots of countries in Southern and Eastern Europe who can't be for their own economic reasons. And essentially are people who need money to come in from the European Union in order to build up their economic base and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Britain would be a net contributor. And the European Union doesn't want to have to rely on just France and Germany. That's not a healthy situation. So I get why they would want us back, but just on a kind of political level, I understand if they were to, let's say, extract concessions that would be unpleasing to the British electorate in order to allow that to happen.
I mean, the euro specifically would be the red line that I would never cross in this
Well,
case.
exactly, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. So people, like in the abstract, saying, "Would you vote to rejoin the European Union?" are thinking to themselves what our membership used to be like, and saying, "Yeah, okay, I think I'd probably go with that." You know, so that it doesn't drop much. Whereas in the campaign, Nigel Farage, I think, might mention once or twice or 6 billion fucking times that we'd have to take the euro and Schengen, and there are going to be brown people here. All of Turkey's going to join. Honest, any day now, I promise.
Instead of before, where the asylum process essentially was entirely subsumed to fucking Italy and Greece.
Yeah.
They got the shitty end of the stick having to deal with everything because that would be the most place where people would have their asylum claims heard, massively impacting their own economies, having to deal with asylum processing on a much larger level, which would be much easier if it spread out across the European Union, which we got to completely ignore because of the Dublin Protocol before.
Yep.
They would want us to accept some kind of broader EU asylum pact to ensure that we at least took our fair share, which we, at time of recording, still don't do.
No.
Like, we are calling it a fucking immigration crisis. It's the small boats. And, like, we take fewer asylum seekers per capita than all the big countries in Europe. So their deal that they want, unlike the favourable Dublin Protocol, would mean we'd have to take in more asylum seekers.
Yeah. And we take in far fewer, many, many times fewer than the not very big, not very rich countries of the Middle East as well. If we had anything like the numbers that poured out of Syria and Iraq into the neighbouring countries there, there'd be riots in the street every day. I don't think there will be a Greggs unsmashed. Let's put it that way.
Literally.
Yeah. Deport them all. Oh wow, we've got clever people in chat. Hello. Please no, I can't say that. Just go away. We don't like room temperature IQ people on this channel. You're not welcome. Anyway, yes. Hello there, My Left Eye viewerinos. Welcome in. Everyone go follow My Left Eye on the YouTubes. They're very good. I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. I'm joined also by No Justice MTG, likewise.
And you should drop us follows, and you should go follow My Left Eye, everyone.
You should do that immediately. They're very good. Yes, continuing.
And also, Britons are kind of split between whether we should have or should not have another referendum. So when we ask people, should we have a referendum in the next 5 years? People narrowly say that we should. So that's much closer. And I think, with this debate, it's important to look really into like the qualitative research, so the focus groups. And when we talk about rejoining the EU, that kind of provokes a bit more of a sort of negative or shock.
So that's an interesting kind of juxtaposition. Less than a third want to leave or would vote again to remain out of the European Union, but only slightly less than half want a referendum or don't want a referendum in the next 5 years, which suggests there are a lot of people who would vote to rejoin or would change their vote in some way, but don't want to be able to do so.
I mean, I think because I don't think they want to go through the societal rigmarole that would come from the referendum. Everyone remembers what the referendum campaign was like, how nasty things got.
No, it was the high point of British culture. What are you talking about? Honestly, Britain put its best foot forward, and I don't think we've ever looked so good to the entire world. It's wonderful. Are you eating Pringles? Because I'm very jealous.
I'm eating Pringles, yes.
Pringles have a very distinctive sound.
I'm very, very impressed that you managed to get that.
Well, you've got a very good microphone. Also,
That's true.
Yeah. We had an MP killed. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, technically that wasn't during the referendum, was it? That was before. But he did scream, was it Free Britain or whatever the fuck it was? Yeah.
Response amongst people who actually are like, I want a closer relationship with the EU, but I'm not sure if we should go through the whole rigmarole that we did several years ago and go and rejoin. So I think.
Did you pre-watch this and say rigmarole?
No, I didn't.
Oh wow, okay. Well, no pre-watch, just two great
God,
minds.
I'm the same as a fucking pollster. Oh no, chat. Oh, it's all over.
You might as well start a podcast. Oh, MTG podcast.
I think, to give an overview of opinion. It would be much more about actually we want a close relationship with Europe. Whether people would be willing to go to rejoin the EU in a referendum campaign, where things, that choice becomes very much more live, and we have to know what terms it would be on. It's a bit less clear, but I think generally people really are supportive of a close relationship with Europe.
If there is this change, well, not if there is this change of view, I just wonder why it is that there's no political party in the UK, or certainly mainstream political party, that really wants to even touch this subject. Yet clearly there is a change of view.
Well,
you would have thought the Liberal Democrats should be.
Have you not listened to the Liberal Democrats at any point?
Yeah,
in the last
because that's all they
10
talk
years.
about. Well, that and social care. That's it. Those are the two things they ever talk about.
Jumping on this.
Well, it's not for me to argue what politicians should and shouldn't be doing.
No, but you get my point, though. It's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, shut the... You've been invited onto a thing called Times Radio Politics. Give an opinion, mate. You don't have to... Look, we understand that your polling company does not necessarily represent the views of everybody. Yeah, we know. Tell us what you think. God, I hate the
It's
world.
perfectly reasonable. I mean, Luke Trill is his boss. Luke Trill from More in Common. I have incredible amounts of respect for it. I take his polling knowledge. I rate it very, very highly. And he makes these kind of things clear all the time about what people say, how people can appeal to certain demographics, what political points are worth pushing, what buttons are worth pushing in terms of trying to win people over from the focus groups. He's not shy from saying this. I literally quote tweeted him. He responded saying, "Yes, I think you're right. This is what they could." I'm like, yeah, exactly. You can make opinions More in Common.
Yeah. We should also not shy away from giving us money in the form of bits and subscriptions and memberships and super chats. You shouldn't shy away from that, chat. It's not good for you, if you know what I'm saying.
Isn't it? It's slightly odd that if this is the way people are feeling, then why is it that political parties almost feel like, it's kryptonite? They just don't want to go near it as a topic.
Because it brought down repeated prime ministers. It was a fucking nightmare which ripped apart British politics for a generation.
Oh, it's basically destroyed the political establishment in this country.
Yeah. Everything
people...
is... we literally can view British history as pre- and post-Brexit. That is a meaningful distinction.
Yeah,
no
100%.
wonder they don't want to fucking touch it with a shitty stick. This generation of politicians have like a kind of PTSD about this. They went through all of that. They had to give up their Sunday to go to Parliament so that he could prorogue it illegally and everything, right? You know what I mean? They went through all of this shit with repeated prime ministers brought down by this shit. It was horrible. No wonder they don't want to do it. They also probably don't want to cut off their own genitals or fucking bathe in acid because they're very unpleasant experiences that they know will be painful.
Well, the thing is, right, is that people rightly talk about the internal divisions over Brexit within the Conservative Party, about what it means for kind of European cosmopolitanism, what it means for diplomatic relations, what it means for immigration, what it means for trade agreements, right? And there was lots of disagreements, and it basically tore the Conservatives apart to the point at which Boris Johnson came in and said, everybody who disagrees with my Brexit deal, you're fucking out, right? You've gone. And that was a big kind of a point of inflection.
Yeah.
And then Boris Johnson's failure to deliver the promises of Brexit also destroyed the Tories as well.
Yeah, well,
he told the public it would give us things that the opposite was true of.
Well, exactly. He went from the official government position, the Tory government's position, although it allowed dissension from government ministers, but the official position was to remain, to basically being illegal in the Tory party to be a Remainer. He turned them from the Conservative Party into the English Nationalist Party.
It's so true. It's so true. But what is not talked about as often is the same is true for the Labour Party. It's not quite as clear, but obviously they had this big kind of split between the metropolitan base in cities and in London especially, who are very pro-Remain, and the Labour Party heartlands in the Red Wall, who are very pro-Leave. And they tried to please everybody and please nobody. The Metropolitan Liberals, who were tacitly voting for them, tactically to get rid of Theresa May in 2017, all left to vote for the Swin Zone for the skills wallets. And all of the people in the North vote for the Brexit Party. Because they obviously, in those seats, the Brexit Party were standing, just not in the Tory ones, to
Yeah.
ensure that there was a free run at prime ministership for Boris Johnson to deliver Brexit. And a lot of these communities would never really vote Conservative, but they definitely would vote for the Brexit Party.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem. And on top of this, the reason why Brexit continued to be a thing after 2017 was because Keir Starmer deliberately collapsed Brexit talks between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn to try and pass a soft Brexit deal through parliamentary unity between the Tories and Labour to get that shit out of the woodwork, which would have been perfect for Labour. If all the Brexit stuff had gone away, all we'd be concentrating on is the Tory shitty economic record versus the anti-austerity candidate offering policies that literally everybody likes.
And we'll bear that in mind for the video we watch next.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Keir Starmer quite literally, deliberately destroyed the Labour Party. Because remember, the split that we have now is because of what was being planned to cause Brexit by Keir Starmer to try and win so make Jeremy Corbyn lose so they could win the leadership, so they could kick out the left. And now the left are coming to attack Labour, and now Labour are destroyed because of it. Obviously, they were destroyed to at least a certain extent by Reform UK, but now the Jeremy Corbyn party is attacking them from the other side, to the point at which they're going to be electorally fucking destroyed, you know?
No, I get your point. Don't worry. I think perhaps politicians, had such a negative experience with the Brexit years that there's a real perception gap in that, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the public just didn't want to reopen this conversation at all. And to a certain extent, I think there is sort of a greater reluctance from the public to do so. But I think there is a perception gap amongst politicians about where they see the public and where the public actually are.
And that's because the politicians don't serve the public. They don't give a fuck what they think. They're not interested. That's not the actual constituency that they're serving.
I mean, yes and no. Obviously, there is a lot of corruption in politics, and there is a lot of playing to them internal kind of stuff going on. So thank you for the 5 gifted ADX, man. But also, a bunch of these people like to pretend that the public want the same things that they do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, no, everyone wants to think of themselves as popular or mainstream or whatever, yeah.
Exactly. Kemi Badenoch banging on about the Chagos Islands, right? She's totally convinced that the Chagos Islands are a real problem because of...
But she's got an even better one now. Fantastic. You know how she's going to win it all round? She's come out and said that she no longer identifies as Nigerian.
And you know what? I think that I'm perfectly happy to understand that she can identify however she wants. Unfortunately, I don't have to appeal to her delusions.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, exactly. Look, you were born Nigerian. You can't just change to not being Nigerian.
I mean, in reality, of course, she absolutely can. But she's just a gigantic fucking hypocrite.
Well, no, that's the joke I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'm not using...
Just in case people were not understanding the sarcasm here.
Exactly. They, them, Nigerians, or whatever. I don't know, what would the equivalent of pronouns be? Demonyms? Oh, let's not get complicate things, fuck's sake. Neo-demonyms? Jesus.
So we did lots of polling and focus groups after
And anyway,
Keir Starmer's...
the point I was making was that that's not going to have any impact on anything. She's gone by the end of the year. Bye! See you, Kemi. It's been fun. By which I mean
Who?
memes.
Hang a minute. Who's this? Who's this Kemi person you speak of?
Kemi. It's short for chemist, I think. I think they're a chemist that like it gives you tablets at the hospital. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Brexit agreement he agreed back in May, I think. And we actually found overwhelming support for most of the stuff that was announced. The only thing that was announced that people didn't like was the Fisheries deal. But every other element of it, including the youth mobility scheme, was seen overwhelmingly positively by the public.
I like the idea that the British public know anything about fisheries. Because they don't. Unless you work in the fisheries industry, or you're a fucking nerd, you don't know what the fuck fisheries policy is. And that's
the
fine.
irony, of course, is that the fishermen was sold the lie of Brexit.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Supported it.
And
now hate him.
Well, exactly. And exactly. They're the people who've been fucked over most by Brexit. Because they were promised the best deal and actually ended up with the worst deal because Boris Johnson was happy to sell them down the river for convenience. So, yeah, but the British public don't know about these things. They say they do. And they have very strong opinions about things they don't understand, which is part of the problem.
And I guess the one thing I would say is that the public have lots of priorities right now. The cost of living, the NHS, immigration, and you do get a sense when you talk to public in these focus groups that actually they don't want the public, their politicians to be obsessed with Europe anymore. And again, so I guess it's just making sure that as the UK government does continue to build a close relationship with the EU, it doesn't come across as being a single issue for the government and doesn't take away priorities, attention from other.
Do you hear that, Lib Dems? It's important it doesn't become a single issue. Yeah? You reckon you can talk about literally anything else? Yeah.
Well, the problem is, of course, is the Lib Dems literally got everything they wanted other than Brexit. It's funny that to be the Liberal Democrats and get every single policy prescription you've ever supported ever be put into law by multiple governments for the last 46 years, and you've never had to get into government to do it.
Well, I mean, apart from the alternative vote thing, I suppose.
That's true. They didn't get the electoral reform, but they basically have just had small state.
Hang on, they didn't. Whoa! You didn't get skills wallets.
I mean, they are literally trying to do skills wallets now. They're trying to do like adult education funding. The new government we are literally getting skills wallets. And you know what? I think skills wallets are good. I am.
Oh, you're in the Swin zone. Let's go.
I'm in the Swin zone now, Chad. Yeah, but like there'll be a certain amount of funding for everybody if they're an adult and they want to retrain in a world where the economy moves at fucking lightning speed towards whichever particular industry is good at the time. Yeah, lots of easily accessible adult education would be a great thing. But, you know, that would require having money, and you can't just say, we'll just have 40 billion extra pounds, like, remain bonus to be able to pay for it.
Yeah. Also, thinking about it, Kemi Badenoch can identify whoever she likes, but has she given up her Nigerian citizenship?
I believe she has, yeah.
Oh, has she? Okay. I'll let her off then. I'll let her off, that's fine. I'll allow her to transition from being Nigerian. It's fine. I'm a very understanding person.
Other priorities.
And so maybe that in part answers my next question, which is where does this leave parties like Reform UK and the right of the Conservative Party who supported Brexit? Because your polling shows that actually the people who are still in favour of Brexit are the people who voted for those parties. So, I mean, that kind of, you know, we're being told.
I can't imagine there are many people who voted to remain who have changed their opinions. To be honest, I don't think there are many people who voted to remain and looked at the situation since and have gone, you know what, I'm really glad we left, actually. It's gone super fucking well.
I mean, a lot of my opinions on the EU have changed. I still think we're worse off now that we're out, right? But
exactly, that's what I mean,
yeah, like the few Brexit benefits that we could have taken advantage of and then didn't. I do support being free of those things now, but of course, no, you'd have to elect actual socialists and leftists to implement those policies. Those kind of policies.
That was sort of my problem with the Lexit argument. Is that there are very strong reasons why leaving the European Union could be good for a socialist government, but in order to take advantage of any of that, you'd need to have a socialist government, and that was never going to happen. So, because if Corbyn had been elected, he'd have also been shot. So, like, the missing minute of videotape from outside of his room, you know, that sort of thing would happen. All of a sudden, a pot of polonium jam would appear, you know.
Well, that's the thing as well, is that a bunch of the stuff that we would need to. I mean, okay, I'll give us one. We have had one thing. We've taxed private schools.
Yep.
Which the Independent Alliance MPs voted against, by the way. I just like to point that out. You know,
that is weird. That is
the Shock Adams and Adnan Husseins of this world. What the bourgeois optometrists and, you know, high flying lawyers might actually want to send their costed kids to private school.
Crazy. I know, yeah. So they're a mixed bag. They're interesting. But yeah, so that's good. Also, it has made a couple of schools close. So yay. Two fewer sociopath factories there. Awesome.
Two down so far.
Exactly. Look, those are rookie numbers. We can fucking get those numbers up. Let's go. I want Eton to be crumbled down and turned into kitty litter. We can do this.
There could potentially, you know, be a reform government at the next general election. Yet this is an important issue that they're at odds with the majority of the public.
I think the positive thing for all parties is that what once was a very divisive and polarized debate has, the heat's been taken out of it. And I think, what really matters to Britons is whether they can afford to have their shops, when they go to the supermarket, that they can have the healthcare, access to NHS when they need it.
Wow, you mean material conditions are more important than some fanciful notion of, like, constitutional change? Yeah, we know.
It's weird. It's a crazy, crazy situation, right? Like I said it before, I mentioned this last time we spoke, right? Which was that you look in America, they hate Donald Trump for infinite numbers of reasons, and literally none of those reasons are he used his power as the president to do things.
Yeah, true. Very true. So yeah, it's people want to be able to feed their children more than they give a fuck about going on holiday to Val d'Isere. Interesting. Interesting notion. I hadn't thought of it like that.
And they feel that immigration's under control. And I think when it comes to Europe, people want their politicians to see that issue through, a pragmatic lens which helps them achieve those objectives. So from a conservative and reform perspective, it's really important, even among their own voters, who overwhelmingly did vote to leave, that they're seen to be taking quite a pragmatic, sensible stance on this issue.
Adults in the room, let's go.
I'm so fucking sick of sensible. Like, don't get me wrong. Generally speaking, you do want sensible in a general sense, right? But this idea that has to be the absolute key to everything, that we can never have any actual radical change in any way whatsoever, is a metastasized cancer which is destroying Britain.
Yeah, like, it's the thing is that sensible is what they view not as a policy with a specific set of goals and implementation and understanding of the externalities, right? Sensible to them is it is seen as a counterweight to radicalism. When of course there is plenty of things that are seen as radical that are sensible to do, but it's the radicalism that they disagree with. Like, I was just thinking, I'm like, this is slightly off topic, but I saw a tweet with some fucking dipshit Times columnist, who also works for the Free Press, so it's an Israeli shill basically, talk about the phrase luxury beliefs and saying that there are preposterous ideas that progressives can afford to hold, like defund the police, open borders, and men can become women, right? And what it essentially is downwind of is that they don't understand why people suggest these things. All they can see of when they hear these policies are they don't fit within my Overton window, so everyone else who thinks it must just be engaging in fucking utopian dream politics of a world they want to live in, rather than offering policy prescriptions and why these would be good, right? So if take defund the police, for example. You defund this thing, which means the crime will go away. No. The whole point with defund the police is that you divest that money into social services that stop crime, rather than trying to punish criminals with a high level of policing. Relative poverty is a driver of crime. So you want to deal with that material problem that creates crime. You want to be tough on crime and the causes of crime, unironically, But because they just hear the phrase and they go, oh, but I like it when there's more police, and don't even bother looking into the reasons and the pragmatic positions behind it, and go, well, everyone who I disagree with, all they care about is luxury radical beliefs that they don't have to deal with the consequences of. And I'm just like, no. We have whole prescriptions for these things. You just hate it because of fucking vibes. Yeah.
But also, defunding the police, even in their sense, would actually reduce crime, because it's the police doing the fucking crime. They're domestic abusers, they're rapists, they're racist. It was literally found out this week, right? It was revealed, they didn't want to do this whole investigation into grooming gangs in Yorkshire and all the rest of it. It turns out that a great many of the South Yorkshire police were also doing the rape of children.
No, Kevin. It was nothing. No, but they were just... The only reason they didn't report any of these things is because they were too scared they were looking racist. The police had gone woke.
No, there's a reason they didn't want to investigate it, because you don't want to incriminate yourself.
Literally. And we knew, fucking Operation Stovetop literally revealed this shit years ago, and just never gets reported on.
Why are we giving British taxpayers money to child rapists in South Yorkshire? Why is that happening? I mean, they can call themselves constable all they like, but this is what they are.
They really are putting the cunt in constable.
True. Can we get some 1312s in chat? It seems only appropriate. Thank you, Navigator BR, for resubscribing. 59 months. You are mental. God bless you.
Get help.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that is a disease.
Divert and move away from Europe. Sorry, diverge and move away from Europe. Our opportunities to make political points and to emphasise Brexit, wouldn't be a wise decision if it is seen to worsen the cost of living or to, undermine the NHS. So I think for them, much like it has been for sort of the Labour Party and to a certain extent the Liberal Democrats, it's just important they take a pragmatic, sort of less polarised and political approach to Europe, because that's where the public is. They want us to have a sensible relationship with Europe.
They don't want student politics.
What I will kind of pull the thread on there specifically. Just go back. I forgot what he said, but there was something I really wanted to respond to about the language that he used. Go back like 10 seconds.
Has been for sort of the Labour Party and to a certain extent the Liberal Democrats. It's just important they take a pragmatic, sort of less polarised and political approach to Europe, because that's where the public is. They want us to have a sensible relationship with Europe, particularly in the context
that's the point I was going to make,
Trump.
right? Is that a lot of the Remainiac liberals seem to understand that it is an absolute truth that Brexit was bad for living standards. You know what? A lot of studies say this. But they refuse to entertain the reality, which is that it is the people who saw the negative impacts of the policies that preceded Brexit who are the ones to vote for Brexit, because there was nobody else offering them other political ways out of their situation.
Yeah.
That's what's really important here, is that you say, well, we need to make sure that we don't do Brexit whilst harming material conditions. Or, well, the material conditions of the people who voted for Brexit were already shit. That's why they did it.
Well, exactly, yeah. Yeah. The idea, and this is the problem I think I have with the likes of the Liberal Democrats and the person we're about to watch, is that they essentially want to go back to the politics of 2012. They want to be able to grill again. Whereas actually the people who voted the opposite way did so out of absolute desperation because of the poverty enforced on them by you grilling.
Yeah, they were unable to grill, right?
Yeah. Look,
that's all they want to do. They just want to be able to grill.
Well, I mean, we take it back to the fantastic sign at the protest. Tell my dog that he can't go on his skiing holiday.
Literally.
Like, I'm sorry, the people of Sunderland, you know what? I get it. Just to say fuck you to that specific person, I get it. That's fine. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Some people can't afford to heat their house in the winter, and some people during the winter are going to specifically very cold places to ski with their dog.
I'll never get over it. I'll never get over that picture.
Right.
In the same way that I'll never get over 80k question time guy as well.
Yeah. Nationalise the sausages. Banter. Grill. Oh, so there's the old meme about I just want to grill. So basically it's a euphemism for complacent liberalism. Or conservatism to a degree, where basically they don't want to change the thing that was messed up that led to the horrible situation now. They just want to go back to the bad situation that was before because they were doing well during that time.
And the wider threats that we've, that Britain faces.
Chris, thank you for coming on talking to us about that. That's Chris Anous, who is a research associate at...
Yeah, no, don't. Chris Anous. Okay.
More in Common, which has carried out that exclusive polling for the Sunday Times. You can read that with your digital subscription. There's some other interesting...
Okay, yeah, I don't care. Now, having mentioned that Brexit was bad, right? And it undoubtedly was. But do you know who was to blame for Brexit?
Keith? Sir Keith?
No, no, quite the opposite. It's the Jam Man.
Oh, it's Jeremy Corbyn, is it? Okay.
Yeah. The Jumbly Cumbly Concretes was the person who did it all, and Femi has the entire story for us. Take it away.
I need British lefties to know about this tweet, because clearly not enough of you do, and that's okay.
He needs British lefties to know about this tweet from 2018. He's doing a video about a tweet from 2018. Everybody.
I mean, to be fair, I pull up people's tweets from that era all the time to say this you when they say they'll never vote for Labour under Corbyn. When you see them talking about people being reform enablers.
Also, to be fair to Femi, he did drive to Sunderland to stop Brexit, so, you
I
know.
believe it was Hull, but the
Hull,
point stands.
yes. Oh, well, a northern town.
It's all very Alan Partridge Tobler.
Maybe it was Castleford. Who knows? Callback.
Because not all of you would have been politically engaged during the 2016 to 2019 period. But I need you
Which
to...
is literally the only period that Femi seems to give a fuck about at all. Look, he's basically the Liberal Democrats. He just wants to talk about this. And nothing else.
know about this tweet so that you can understand why there is zero forgiveness in my heart for the people who were Labour politicians during that period. Because the tweet is by an MP called Barry Gardiner. And what was Barry Gardner's role during the 2016 to 2019 period? Well, he...
As if you can look at the Labour Party that was backstabbing Corbyn and just being shit and literally celebrating losing elections because it's bad for Corbyn and saying they were going to stab him in the front and all of that shit. Look at that and go, you know who the real problem was? Barry Gardiner. They were literally doing a coup, an internal coup to place a Conservative as the leader of the party. And you think Barry Gardiner was the issue? Yeah, oh God, Liberals are just the worst. They really are.
He was the Shadow Secretary of State for International Trade under Jeremy Corbyn. So in terms of Labour's Brexit policy during that period, he is high up there. And remember, this tweet went out from the Shadow Secretary of State for International Trade under Jeremy Corbyn in September 2018. And it said, "Never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake." He was quote tweeting somebody who was pointing out that with Brexit in utter chaos and destined to hurt millions of people, the opposition, Labour under Jeremy Corbyn, was doing nothing to actually counter it. And
well, does it say that? Or is it just a stupid tweet and not a full statement of Labour Party policy, you knobhead?
And even then, that's even if you're reading it as them talking about the response to Conservative crisis over Brexit, that's not what that would imply.
No.
And the implication here is that the government can't agree on a Brexit deal. It makes them look terrible, disunited, and like a fucking shambles to the country. So don't get involved. Yeah. Just keep voting against their deals. Just keep fucking voting down that shit and watch them fucking capitulate and be forced into another election, which is obviously what happened, you know? But they could have... All they needed to do was sit there, just go like, lol no, lol no, lol no. Do you want to enjoy the chaos that you've created? Enjoy it. It's yours to own. And that's the reality, right? You don't want to...
But like...
You don't... Yeah.
But even that interpretation, even if we give him that's the interpretation that should be had, this isn't a policy document. This isn't a statement of policy from any... It's a tweet. It's a silly tweet. It's a dunk. It's literally a dunk to a person who's atted them in the fucking thing. So they're just responding with a clapback. That this is not a manifesto.
Response from the Shadow Secretary of State for International Trade under Jeremy Corbyn during this chaos was, "Never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake." Basically saying, we need to allow the Tories to completely ruin the country with Brexit, and then Labour will look better by comparison.
Is that what's being said? Because I really don't think that is what's being said, Femi. I think you're just adding ridiculous, out of context, whack shit to a statement. Like
he's
that's
extrapolating from an incredibly small sample size here.
Yeah, that is literally, it's the old meme of, no, that's a whole different sentence. You've just invented a thing that this person didn't say from a tweet from 2018 and are acting as if I should give a fuck. Because you needed lefties to hear about this. Why?
I mean, the problem, of course, is that, God bless Femi, is that he just doesn't understand that when you lose a referendum, you have to implement the policy of the referendum. Because the reality is, during this period, the Corbyn front bench were negotiating with Theresa May, which is what I was alluding to earlier.
But that's how oppositions. But that's how oppositions have to operate. In order to have any impact, you do one of two things: either you try and stop the government from passing its legislation, or you influence that legislation through negotiation.
Exactly. And I thought that's what they should have been doing. I'm glad they were
Yeah.
doing it. And the whole point is that they were trying to hash out some kind of Brexit compromise to ensure that they minimise the damage whilst fulfilling the results of the referendum. But Femi's position on this was that they should have just never invoked Article 50, unilaterally opposed Brexit, and just stopped it even though they lost the referendum, which
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, like that's
is
just
insane.
undemocratic rubbish. What was the point in having a vote to begin with? If you were just going to go, nah, you chose wrong. No, in a
mean, the
democracy,
reality
no,
is-
you don't choose wrong. You always choose right.
Well, the reality is that any policy that would implement Brexit whilst mitigating the harms was exactly what was necessary to ensure the continuity of the country, and again, to make sure that we were talking about the real issue, which was macroeconomic policy,
Yeah.
austerity, all of the big problems that caused Brexit, all of those things that helped degrade the social infrastructure to the point where people literally went look to the status quo as it existed and said, I want to fuck shit up and I don't care what it is
Yeah.
because no one speaks to my interests anymore, which led to what happened in 2016, is then you've got to clean up that mess. And to do that, you have to get over the elephant in the room that won't go away and is taking up all of the political oxygen that could be spent
Yeah.
on economic discussion.
Sure. Also, as Flowsnake points out in my chat, this is not the first time that he's taken something completely out of context and added ridiculousness to it. If we recall his smearing of Eddie Dempsey as a racist for pointing out at one hustings some of the reasons that people might vote for Brexit.
I mean-
Which, like, yeah, he was just explaining a thing. It might have been
I
poorly
think-
worded, but like that was clearly out of context, you know.
Yeah, like the reality is what it should have been was Femi rather than blasting him on social media, you should have just messaged him and gone, you said this, I took that to mean this, can you clarify your statement please? Because I've seen you on like counter-fascism demonstrations. I've seen you literally be there as Steve Headley is getting fucking lamped by Tommy Robinson supporters trying to defend ethnic minority communities from attacks from the EDL. That's what Eddie Dempsey does on the ground, right? The implication that Eddie Dempsey is a racist is just, it's nonsensical. Even
Well, he literally said-
by any historical precedent, you know?
Even in the speech that was being clip chimped, he literally says we need to focus on countering the far right, and then went on to explain the ways in which people become racist through you create the swamp of racism through bad economic policy because people look for a scapegoat and then they get offered a scapegoat. You know, we've seen this happen. It's not nice. It's sort of a poor part of human mentality. But he was explaining that pretty well, actually. I thought he made some good points. But if you just clip out the bit where he says, like, you know, I understand why people vote for X, it's not saying that's good. It's bullshit. And it's just, this Femi's obsession with Brexit leads to him always attacking, I think, the wrong targets, frankly. Michael Gove's out there. You're not making videos about Michael fucking Gove.
And we can take advantage of that politically. And let's not pretend that he didn't know what the cost of letting the Tories make that mistake would be for the British people. Because leaked government documents show that allowing Brexit to happen would definitely make people poor. The British medical...
And that was Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Or Barry
again,
Gardner's fault, apparently.
They weren't passing a Brexit deal. Brexit was being stopped by Conservative Party internal infighting. Why would you want to stop them from doing that? It doesn't hasten Brexit if you intervene. If you don't intervene, it just means that the Tories tear themselves apart for longer.
Yeah.
The Medical Association was warning that Brexit would make it harder for us to retain NHS staff that came from the EU. And we can already see what the cost of that has been. And at the time, almost 80% of Labour members wanted a second referendum, with the vast majority wanting us to stay in the EU.
Okay, and they also wanted socialist policy, and they didn't fucking get that either. But again, I don't see you making a video about how Keir Starmer's a piece of shit.
I mean, the manifesto in 2017 literally said single market customs union.
Yeah. And a confirmatory referendum, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
To Basil in YouTube chat, I do want to push back slightly. Femi has not been ignoring Starmer completely. In fact, Femi has done reams of content calling out Keir Starmer's complicity in genocide. So our criticism of Femi being very, very obsessed with Brexit for no reason is ancillary to, I think, what has been quite an interesting heel turn on his position over Keir Starmer's Labour government, which he is very much opposed to.
Okay, fair dues.
the EU single market. But Jeremy Corbyn was saying that we had to leave the EU single market, and when a senior Labour MP suggested letting people vote on the Brexit deal, Jeremy Corbyn fired him. Which, by the way, I find to be fucking insane, because in the 2019 election, it was official Labour policy to have a second referendum, yet just a year before, he fired a Labour MP for even suggesting that. Which brings me back to this tweet,
Yes.
because it says the quiet part.
Yeah, it's a stupid policy.
Yeah.
It was a stupid policy at the time. It was a stupid policy when Keir Starmer railroaded them into running the policy.
Yeah.
Out loud in an insane way, because it explains how, after campaigning for Remain during the referendum, from 2016 July onwards until about mid-2019, Labour Party did not challenge the Tories on the need to have a second referendum, the need to stay in the EU single market, because they knew the damage that allowing the Tories to get on with Brexit.
Apart from the manifesto that they ran on in 2017 that had "we would remain in the single market" in their Brexit policy documentation.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
post 2017 election, Jeremy Corbyn did say that we should stay out of the single market. That was a position he changed after 2017. But the manifesto that was run on in 2017 was committed to remaining in the single market.
Would actually do to people, and they knew that that would make them look good by comparison. And that's why I can never forgive these people, no matter what they do, because even if they said let's rejoin the EU right now, it would still be a completion of this very plan. It means they'd have...
What plan? What fucking plan? It's a tweet where he's clapping back at a person. That's not a plan. That's not a policy. That's literally nothing. You have built a straw man out of a single straw.
And again, all of this gets debunked by the backdoor negotiations around a soft Brexit deal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They've allowed the far right to get on with Brexit, ruining the lives of millions of people, and then they can come in as the heroes. So am I saying all this to get you to vote against Corbyn's new party? No, I'm saying this so that you vote rationally, in the knowledge that there are now two parties on the left.
Yeah, you vote rationally against Corbyn's party. Okay.
They are giving an alternative to Starmer's Labour, and so you shouldn't simply blindly vote for Corbyn's party because he's the only one who has your back, especially when he has proven that he won't always. Because despite my history with Jeremy Corbyn, if he commits to campaigning for a fair voting system and to doing a deal with the Greens in the next election, then if Corbyn's party is the tactical choice in my constituency, I will vote for him. Because unlike some people, I care more about what's good for the country than simply getting one over on my enemies.
Fair dues. Okay, I'm on board with that last bit. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, 100%. As I said, he's committed to not disliking Labour. But you're right, it's just he has insinuated a whole lot of extrapolations out of a Twitter dunk.
Yeah. Yeah. And a pretty lame Twitter dunk by a pretty ineffectual politician. Like, who cares? Really. It's from 2018, man. Move on. For the love of God.
Yeah.
You know someone who can't move on? Paul Mason.
True, he will never move on, ever.
Do we want to take a look at Paul Mason's amazing article that he released, 2 days ago or something? 3 days ago?
I mean, any Paul Mason content is good fucking content. Finally, some good fucking content.
Premium Marxism you got going on here, right?
we are about chat. You are about to be schooled. You're about to learn about social democracy from a Marxist perspective.
You are. Corbyn's new party is designed to put Farage in number 10. Designed to put Farage in number 10. It's a carbon copy of what German communists did when they let Hitler take power without a fight. And the replies to this article are QED.
Right, so the name of the article is Corbyn's new party will put Farage in number 10.
Yeah.
And yet, Farage is already going into number 10.
Yeah. And that's because of the party that Paul Mason supports, the Labour Party. Yeah.
Yep, Labour are the one to blame for this.
Yeah.
And again, Corbyn can do nothing. He could literally have been completely silent, and Labour would still be 10 points behind in the polls, right?
Sure.
Remember all of the centrists saying any other leader would be 20 points ahead?
Yeah.
Labour are 20 points ahead of 0.
Yeah.
They're polling at 20 under Keir Starmer.
Any other leader would be 20 points ahead. Anyway. Corbyn's new
I'll
party.
tell you what. The Labour Party are 20 points ahead of the monster raving loony party. Well done, Keith.
Yeah, they're 20 points ahead of literally zero. Well done, Keith. Corbyn's new party will put Farage in number 10. People are being dragged towards a deeply flawed new political project that will act as a wrecking ball for the Labour Party. Yeah, that's why I like it. Yeah, no, because the Labour Party deserves having a wrecking ball taken to it. Yes. I'm
Like,
very much
that's
on
the
board with
thing.
that. Yeah.
Is that they seem to want to think that the Labour Party should exist because it has a right to exist a lot.
Yeah.
Insofar as they feel like they are owed the votes of people. They feel like they have a divine right
No, it's
to be
entitled
the
to,
party
yeah.
of the left. Yeah, their entitlement. It's exactly the same. Again, I hate that I had to retweet this, but it was true when Aaron Banks quote tweeted Seb Payne. Seb Payne was moaning about Reform UK splitting the right vote because Seb Payne is a completely fucking sold up, paid up Tory member who's desperate for one of his own seats. He feels that this kind of dynastic political party is entitled to be the mainstream party of government, the natural party of government, and Reform UK taking away those entitled votes is it's beyond reproach. And Aaron Banks was like, if there's anything, there are plenty of reasons to hate the Tories, but the biggest reason to hate the Tories is their sense of absolute entitlement. And you know what? I could not agree more with Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
And the same is true of the Labour people as well.
Yeah. On the night Jeremy Corbyn finally launched his new party, one of its keenest supporters rushed onto GB News to warn Nigel Farage to his face that the organisation was coming straight for Reform's voters. Fiona Lally, the 25-year-old figurehead of the Revolutionary Communist Party, who has signed up to Corbyn's venture, said, quote, "There's been a huge vacuum in politics for a while, and to a certain degree Reform were tapping into that anger. I actually think that this party, if it has a really genuine militant socialist programme in the future, will take votes away from Reform as well, because it's going to concentrate on working class issues." Unquote. She called for Corbyn to nationalise major corporations without compensation. That is very important that you understand that this without compensation, because the next bit is lovely. Asked where she would get the money. What do you mean? What do you understand by the two words without compensation? Because without compensation means you don't need money for that. Because it's without compensation, you dopey cunt.
And the irony, of course, is that that's not what the Corbyn party would do anyway. They
No,
would be
I know.
expropriating things. They would probably gain control of Thames Water, for example, as the operator of last resort, because their share value is basically zero because of the incredible liabilities that they have. So that's one thing that they would do. But they would still be nationalising things by trading bonds, right?
Yeah, exactly. But even so, like, even his straw man doesn't make sense, because he's asking a question that the straw man... Oh, you're trying to straw man with a question that is answered by the two preceding words. You literally debunk yourself before you've made the argument, which is brilliant. She replied...
I think it's worth pointing out that I think there is some truth that there will be a non-zero number of Reform voters, or not necessarily Reform supporters, but people who were tempted by Reform as a shake-up-the-system vote, who could support a future party of the left as well, especially on issues like nationalisation, which Reform have kind of softened on. So
Yeah.
I think that's true, because people look at the opinion polls and they look at it and go, these are Reform voters, these are XYZ voters. No, they're people who said they would vote for this party. Those are two different things. It just sounds like that sounds like a meaningless distinction, but I think there's a real distinction between someone who tacitly votes for a party rather than someone who deliberately votes for a party, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Asked where she would get the money, she replied, through expropriation, following a revolution. So basically this was not a very serious person. I don't know why you're quoting them exactly.
I mean, she's a TikToker.
Yeah. Well,
Let's
yeah.
be real. I love her. She's based. She's got fire in her belly. But someone who's proposing a serious program for government, she is not.
No. Before considering the long-term function of the new party in British politics, we should notice the short-term function that figures like Lally play for Nigel Farage. The party's most radical voices will be employed, and I mean for money, as perfect lunatic-sounding foils to bring onto GB News night after night to dramatise the culture war and boost the far-right's own narrative. Well, how about you put up a sensible argument then, through good policy in government,
And again,
to
they're
get
living.
rid of the far right?
But again, there's Paul Mason living in a different reality where people aren't furious. He's living in a different reality where all people want is for quote-unquote politics to go away, which was actually the refrain of the centrist liberals who overwhelmingly support Keir Starmer now. They're his last bastion of the voter base, because Labour, for its first time in its history, got more votes than higher earners than did lower earners at the last election. They really kind of reshapen the voter base of the Labour Party. And it's those people who would get put off, but the people in the kind of destroyed post-industrial heartlands of this country, I mean, maybe they're not necessarily as amenable to left-wing policy as, say, woke libtards in city centres as they would describe them, right? But anyone offering something that shakes up the system in an era of populism is a potential party these people could consider voting for.
Yeah.
But again, Paul Mason is a highly paid political consultant and journalist, so he doesn't understand what it's like for people who don't have jobs anymore because the steel mill closed down.
Yeah. In the same week, the party's co-founder, Zara Sultana, tweeted, quote, Keir Starmer and David Lammy both belong in The Hague, unquote. Timeout. Based. 10 out of 10, no notes. Banger.
Which is true. Like,
yeah.
It's just,
What's your issue there?
Completely uncontroversial statement.
Yeah. Taken literally, that would mean the leader of the Labour Party, whose manifesto Sultana was happy to stand on long after his initial response to the Gaza conflict, and whose money she was happy to take in last year's election, is a war criminal who should stand trial for genocide. Yes.
I mean, yeah. First of all, like, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? If they were stupid enough to let her run so that she could usurp them later on, then tough shit.
Yep.
Should have been even more draconian, and I'm sure that would have worked out well for you in the opinion polls. And second of all, he may have been a monster in the run-up to the election, but his complicity with genocide legally that would land him at The Hague is because of the power that he enacted as a leader of the country, as Prime Minister, and as someone who appointed the Foreign Secretary, who is now not only helping sell parts for F-35 fighter jets that are being used in Gaza, but is also the one who has been training IDF troops in this country, and also the one flying surveillance flights from RAF Akrotiri, right? Like, you can say that he's a monster, and he is a monster, but that's completely separate to the broader Labour movement, because Keir Starmer is only one man. He is not the entirety of the Labour Party, of which Zara Sultana was a member of until very, very recently. When it comes to the policy that means he ends up at The Hague, you'd have to have been elected first. So he's gotten the chronology wrong.
Yeah. Also, having mentioned David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, his piece from The Guardian today about J.D. Vance completely relates to me. Have you ever seen a more craven human being than this? I don't think I ever have. I don't think I've ever seen a person less principled in my entire life than David Lammy. For real.
Me too. The man is just completely devoid of shame.
Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. A just pathetic human being. I mean, he might actually fillet Trump when he comes over. You never know. Anyway, where were we? To expand the point, the Green Party supporting columnist Owen Jones has also... the Green Party supporting columnist Owen Jones has also suggested that Lammy should go to jail. Yeah, true. Yes.
I mean, okay, so has Conservative MP Kit Malthouse. It's not exactly a radical position. Again, because these people live in a fantasy world where there's no consequences for being a Western leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, of course,
just power,
that's not necessarily. Yeah. I mean, that's not necessarily a fantasy world. That is actually a real world that has been up until this point, right? But regardless of whether or not the West get protected, there is a watershed that's been breached. Netanyahu and Gallant have been served their fucking notices, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can be next, especially considering we are signatories to the Rome Statute. Netanyahu and Gallant aren't.
Yep. To be clear about what is going on, the far left is intent on ensuring that Corbynism 2.0 plays a much darker part than its first iteration, when it emerged as a legitimate, if ultimately ineffective, response within left-wing social democracy to electoral failure. This time around, it is reading from a script similar to anyone who has studied the role of German communism in Hitler's victory. In the late 1930s, on Stalin's order, the German Communist Party designated the million-strong Socialist Party as, quote, social fascist. What's that got to do with anything?
I mean, they were social democrats, but go off.
Well, exactly, but also, if you can't see, even with the hindsight of nearly a century of historical research, that the reasons that Hitler rose wasn't because of the communists, you're a fucking lunatic. Like, the underlying socioeconomics of that situation would not have ultimately changed massively if the Communist Party didn't exist.
And yeah, like, the other thing as well is that broadly, I think that you can probably make at least somewhat of an argument when it comes to the KPD not wanting to have some kind of popular front to try and defeat the Nazis, which led to Hitler's rise to power. Because even then, Hitler got appointed by Hindenburg on a minority, not a majority.
Yeah.
So it's hardly like this was like an electoral wipeout, which Keir Starmer is going to be fomenting.
Yeah.
But at least the SPD tried to oppose the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, Keir Starmer is fucking filleting them. Keir Starmer is out here just pandering to them.
He literally quoted fucking Enoch Powell. Well, not literally. He nearly quoted Enoch Powell. He echoed Enoch Powell. So, like, don't even fucking start with this shit. Also, like, there is one comparison, which I think is somewhat apt, from a leftist perspective. The Communist Party, when Hitler ran against Hindenburg for the presidency, before he got into power as the Chancellor, the German people basically stuck with a two-horse race between a fascist and an almost fascist conservative in Hindenburg, right? And the communists ran as well, essentially potentially splitting the vote, because most communists actually voted for Hindenburg in order to stop Hitler. But there's a very similar situation here that he's trying to set up, the idea that if you don't vote for the Labour Party, you're going to get something worse. Whereas we've seen what that does. We've seen where that leads to. Because ultimately, Hindenburg did win that election and then got Hitler into power anyway.
Yep.
And that's what's happening here. You got Keir Starmer, he's doing the same fucking shit, and you're going to get Farage. You're doing the same thing. You, Mason, and your ilk are the actual problem. You are the people enabling the Hitler. Dickhead.
Exactly.
It used the same language of disgust, declaring in February 1930 that anyone who still belongs to the SPD is rotten and must be hounded out of the workplace and the unions. Unquote. Time out. Oh no, they were doing propaganda. Crazy. Imagine a political party demonising other political parties. When has that ever happened in any other situation than 1930s Germany?
And also, like, can we talk about the fact that the SPD did actually stand with the trade unions, and here is fucking Keir Starmer doing far and higher on his own staff and wanting to fuck over a trade union that is quite literally in dispute with his own political party.
Yep. And in Birmingham, we've even got a council trying to do fire and rehire against members of a union that literally pay the Labour Party. Look, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. What have we got? We've got noises happened. Hello there, Hannah Reloaded and the Hannah Reloadedites. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. You can hit the follow button. Everyone go and subscribe to Hannah Reloaded. She's awesome. Yes, and everyone go and follow No Justice MTG, who is also awesome.
I am also here, it is true.
She's on Navarra Media every day.
I mean, basically, that was the case. That was the case.
Yeah.
I had 11 appearances. I was on like 21 or something in the month, 22, and I was in about half of them.
Yeah, which is fucking awesome.
I'm glad that whenever they have people on leave, I'm the first port of call, which is nice.
That's all. Yeah, exactly. Look, you're the super sub, okay? You come off the bench and you'll bag a goal.
I'm Chloe Kelly. I'm just Chloe Kelly.
You are Chloe Kelly, and as I said last time, we should make Chloe Kelly Prime Minister, by which I mean you. So, fact. Anyway, where were we? Unions. It peddled the same fantasy of retribution. Quote, the struggle against the socialists will end with the hearings of the revolutionary tribunals of the Soviet Republic. Unquote. What has this got to do with anything?
That's true. Jeremy Corbyn is saying that he's going to hang people
Yeah.
in the revolutionary tribunals.
Which I'll be honest with you, based. I'm only
Well,
joking.
thank you, David O'Keefe, for the £5. Mason's historical illiteracy is astonishing. Not a serious person wouldn't pass GCSE history. This is just bollocks of the highest order. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
Paul Mason is very stupid. It is very true.
Fair enough. It pitched its appeal to young, unemployed nationalist German workers, echoing Nazi language of Volksrevolution and Führer. That just means leader. That is, they didn't invent Führer. The Nazis didn't invent the phrase Führer. That existed.
Oh, this is Intifada all over again, isn't it?
It means leader. It means solitary leader. They'd had Führers in the previous fucking empire military. It was a thing that already happened. Untersturmbannführer and such.
And look, yeah. Oh, they were looking for a Volksrevolution. What? Hang on a minute. That just means people. This means people's revolution. In
Yeah,
the
so
same
they
way
were.
that
So
Volkswagen means
yeah.
people's car.
Yeah, but it sounds scary and Nazi-like. Whereas what it is communists being communist.
Yeah.
That's literally what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what would you expect communists to call for but people's revolution? Exactly. Because that's literally what the communism is, I think. Yeah? Okay. Its leaders famously predicted that, quote, after Hitler, it's our turn next, unquote. Yeah, because they assumed that Hitler was going to win because he kept getting stronger and the liberals were doing nothing to stop it. And you know what? They were right. That did happen, and we know that happened. So why are you bringing that up as if that was wrong? As if they made some sort of faux pas, when actually what it was just good analysis of the conditions they lived in. Also, and he's attacking the German communists, who were like some of the few people who actually opposed the Nazis really strongly, and the people who were most and first persecuted by the Nazis. Have you read the poem? It starts with first they came for the communists, you prick. Have a little bit of decorum, maybe. Fucking hell. Imagine that. You get shit on like that, and then a fucking jumped up little wanker like fucking Paul Mason also decides to take a dump on your tortured dead corpse. Fucking hell, man. And when it came to a Nazi-backed referendum to topple a socialist regional government, yes, you guessed it, the German communists joined in. What are you talking about? A Nazi-backed referendum to topple a socialist regional government? I'm not entirely sure the reference he's making there, but okay. There will, of course, be many disgruntled members of the trade unions and and student activists who want Labour to take a tougher line on Gaza. Who, really, you think? Yeah. Who might look sympathetically on the idea of launching a left social democratic alternative to Labour. The old leadership group around Len McCluskey, Kari Murphy and Andrew Murray see the new party as leverage for the trade union leaders over the Labour government. When push comes to shove, they might be prepared to split the progressive vote in a few safe Labour seats. The Labour Party aren't progressive votes. They just you're not
exactly.
splitting the left because you aren't the left.
And that's the thing, right? He acknowledges here. He essentially already acknowledges the base for this progressive party would be outside of the kind of places where Reform and Labour are going to be competing with each other.
Yeah.
Like, whilst we've said, of course, there are plenty of Reform supporters who would be kind of happy to support any kind of large-scale change and politically to try and see their conditions change. The broader kind of, Yorkshire areas, which is traditional Labour but very racist, so they vote for Reform.
All of Yorkshire is racist. You heard it here first.
It's true. I'll stand by it. But like those places aren't going to be voting for Jeremy Corbyn party. It's going to do well in cities.
Yeah.
It's going to do well in Liverpool, right? Why the fuck anyone would vote for Keir Starmer in Liverpool when he's got not just written in the Sun, not just spoke to journalists from the Sun, but literally hired a previous Sun editor as his fucking director of communications.
Yeah, he's literally just Murdoch's little bitch.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Anyway, where was I? The interventions of figures like Lally, Jones and Sultana herself is designed to make sure that cannot happen. Once you identify Labour as the main enemy and led by genocidal criminals, it becomes impossible to vote critically or even demand some kind of formal alliance to keep either the Tories or Reform out.
But they are fucking war criminals.
Yeah. And I don't see voting for the Labour Party as keeping the Tories out. Because they're literally just doing Tory policy. I'm sorry, like, you can't say, oh, we need to keep the Tories out. Why? Would they go after disabled people? Would they try and impoverish the poor? Would they still keep the 2-child benefit cap? Wow, that's crap. Would they still do the genocide in Gaza? Oh no, those are all your fucking policies. You are the Tories. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable shit. What the far left wants Corbyn's new adventure to become is, in short, a wrecking ball against the against the Labour Party, which results in a reform government and necessarily the collapse of UK fiscal stability and the erosion of democracy. Yeah, that's what Corbyn wants. Yeah, he wants to destroy everyone and fuck your nan. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, he's just literally saying you can't vote. I mean, you might as well erase every single piece of text here and go, you can't vote for Jeremy Corbyn because he's not sensible.
Pretty much, yeah. Jeremy Corbyn, not adults in the room. If you are committed to expropriating property by force, in defiance of the basic rules of the WTO, and, by the way, the European Convention on Human Rights, the collapse of democracy is your only route to power.
He's implying that a TikToker is writing fucking new party politics. What the fuck? This was an interview on GB News. This wasn't a fucking party political broadcast for the Corbyn Sultana party. What the fuck are you talking about, Mason?
But is it any wonder that he prays in aid of stuff like the World Trade Organization rules, as if I give a fuck about the World Trade Organization rules?
I mean, if you want to have a look at what the success of telling the WTO to go fuck themselves, look at China, who spend the entirety of their time undermining WTO rules and are the second biggest economy in the world.
What a real Marxist like Paul Mason would do would be to go and speak on a panel sponsored by BAE Systems.
One of the nation's most famous Trotskyists, chat. On
Excellent.
the screen right now.
Excellent work. I mean, real Trotskyist hours right now. BAE, like, I do the joke about being funded and sponsored by Raytheon because it's a joke. It's a satire on this sort of thing. He's just doing it. He's actually just a monster. His support for the genocidal monsters of government now makes a lot of sense because, you know, you got to keep the BAE Systems money coming rolling in, eh? Fuck me, what a clown. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good point now. He's insinuating that any attempt at socialism will be destroyed and people like him will help destroy it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, yeah, because, I mean, he will try and do that, obviously. He did with Corbyn. That's why, instead of joining the laughter as Corbyn and Sultana screwed up the party's launch by failing to agree its name, I am deeply worried, not for Labour, which will lose very few MPs and councillors... Hang on, time out. Have you seen the polls? Do you honestly think you're going to lose very few MPs and councillors?
Oiled like a baby otter.
You sure? Okay. But for the young people who are going to be dragged into the net of the utterly cynical Leninist reenactors who will form the party's apparatus. He really is full Trotsky right now. He's still... Lenin's been dead over a century. Let it go. Honestly, you can't be that butthurt about an ice pick this many years later. Come on now. Come on.
Like a baby otter.
Thank you, iPhone, for gifting 10 memberships on the YouTube. Much love to you. God almighty. So, Leninist reenactors. Brilliant. They are fine with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Islamic Republic flags on their demos. Are you sure about that? When is this happening?
That's never happened.
I don't think I've ever seen an Islamic Republic flag, ever, because that's really famous, and, like, no one would be cool with that.
Oiled like a baby otter.
Yeah,
And I actually think you should be arrested for that. I think that is overt support for terrorism. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So is waving a Hamas or Hezbollah flag. They are
Or saying that you support Palestine action, which is illegal, and you shouldn't do it, chat. Okay.
Don't say it, chat.
Unless they win their they win their review, in which
Judicial
case,
review, yeah.
which you would then be allowed to. But right now, you can't say, I support Palestine action. It's illegal. You're doing terrorism.
Oil like a baby otter.
Anyway, on their demos. But they are strangely unfine. That you couldn't come up with a better word than the made-up word unfine. You are a fucking journalist, mate. Learn the language.
Oil
But they are
baby
strangely
otter.
unfine working with Labour members and supporters who they portray as genocidaires.
Whoa. Like, Jeremy Corbyn has been a member of the Labour Party for half a fucking century, right?
Yeah.
Oil
Like,
like a
the
baby
idea
otter.
that he is not going to work with anyone from the Labour Party is nonsensical. He has spent his life in that party and has loads of friends and people that he works with well from the party. He just dislikes the leadership.
Yeah.
This is not about like there are plenty of Labour members that I'm sure the new party would welcome him with open arms, be they MPs or rank and file membership, and they would not be treated as being genocidal monsters. It is specifically Keith and Lammy.
Yep.
Who are being called out here.
Well, I think you mean Keith and JD Vance's best friend. Because that's the Lammy being a knob.
True.
The real threat, meanwhile, is the far right. Reform is polling around 27% and brazenly stoking fantasies of civil war amongst the hardcore of young, racist and misogynist men who've been mobilised to cause trouble outside asylum hotels. But I thought Keith was going to stop all of that with smashing the gangs.
Well, he is.
Smash the gangs.
He is going to smash the gangs, though, Kev. You know how he's going to do it.
Rubber sniffing dogs.
Dingy rubber sniffing dogs. Let's go.
Oh yes, woof woof.
Well, that's the thing, right? He's out here going, well, these people are being radicalised into protesting outside asylum hotels. I'm like, and Keir Starmer agrees with them.
Yeah, Keir Starmer's trying to win their votes.
He's pandering.
Yeah.
He's literally pandering.
Yeah. If Labour cannot turn the economy around and start delivering not only on the, quote, soft issues like the NHS and schools, but the hard issues like policing, rule of law and immigration, there is every chance that Reform could win the 2029 election. In that case, we are going to need aggressive electoral alliance tactics to keep Farage out. Okay, but why should I do a deal with you when you want to do the same basic fucking things as Farage? Like, I don't see you as that much better. Why should I cut a deal with you? What, I should cut a deal with the party trying to fuck over disabled people? That's also doing a genocide? No, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that so many red lines have been crossed at this point.
Yeah. But politicians like Sultana no longer care. Whereas Paul Mason cares. He cares so much about BAE systems.
I mean, maybe she doesn't care. Maybe there is, that they have essentially made the calculus that working with Labour is so beyond reproach that they're willing to let Farage win. But of course, that's what's happening anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you say, look, well, all of this is an argument for literally at any point anyone in Labour saying literally anything other than everybody who is part of Jeremy Corbyn's supporters within the Labour Party is disgusting subhuman vermin scumbags who should be put into a area and Minecrafted, right? Like, that is the way in which anybody who was even remotely sympathetic to Corbyn-style politics was treated by the people now in charge of the Labour Party. He literally said, Keir Starmer said, you can leave. We have left. The fleas have been shaken off. The door has been shut forever on the hard left, in the words of Gurinder Singh Josan, right?
Yeah.
They literally told us time and time again they didn't want us, they didn't want our votes, they didn't want our support, they didn't want our membership subs, they didn't want us as candidates, they didn't want us anywhere near the party, they wanted us gone. We have gone, and without there being the broad, big tent that Paul Mason claims that there is, we have found our own tent to go into. And he's just living in a fantasy world where all of this is the left's fault for not accepting being treated like fucking dirt.
Yep.
You know, this guy is justifying abusive relationship.
Basically,
He's justifying an abusive relationship, right? Because, of course, in a domestic setting, that is, I wouldn't make that comparison, but like in a professional relationship, this is a genuine heartfelt cause that people have to want to make a better country, a better world, to try and right the wrongs politically that they see in the world, right? That involves a lot of effort, involves a lot of emotional strain to continue campaigning for that year after month after day after decade, right? That's a lot of emotional toll. And to do all of that, to go through all of that, at the same time fighting people who pretend to be on your team, who treat you like shit and brief against you to the press and openly call you fucking Islamists or call you anti-Semites or call you whatever that might be, who are supposed to be on the same team, that is, honestly, I don't know how people live with it in the Labour Party. Remember,
Yeah, I don't.
Shaman Rahman for the Green Party saying, like, when I was in the Labour Party and I left to join the Greens, it was so freeing because I didn't have to be in the nest of vipers.
Yeah.
And the idea that Mason thinks, well, this is just the hard left throwing a strop and saying they don't care anymore. And I'm like, this is literally what the Keiths of this world wanted. They wanted this exactly. They have engineered it down to a fine art. Because they're too busy doing this rather than concentrating on policy. They spent so much time engineering this to a fine art, and they got exactly what they wanted. And he's got no ire, zero criticism, nothing to say about the McSweeneys and the Keir Starmers of this world and what they've done to try and drive the left out of the party, and deliberately so. All it is, well, the left are just sore losers. Go fuck yourself, Paul.
Yeah. But politicians like Sultana no longer care. They are swept up in a rhetoric so similar to the Comintern's social fascism line of the 1930s that one can only conclude that they have never read a history of their own movement. Oh, my head's going to explode. A man so historically illiterate to say that. Again, I can only echo a sentence said a moment ago. Go fuck yourself, Paul. Lally Sultan. Lally's getting some real fucking play in this article. For a person who has no power whatsoever and they don't even have members of an organisation yet. But apparently she's dictating all policy. Lally, Sultana and their like genuinely believe that Starmer himself is responsible for the growth of reform. What? Lally, Sultana and their like genuinely believe that Starmer is himself responsible for the growth of reform. Yes. In part, yes. His policies are that bad, they do lead to that, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the kind of briefcase politics that led to these people becoming disenchanted with politics in the first place.
Yeah.
And of course, again, the rerunning the Osborne era stuff, it was the obvious plan for anybody with a functioning brain. They were going to go, oh, we've looked at the books, everything is terrible, we found the note, we have to do all of these things like raise taxes rather than be truthful with the public.
Yeah.
People have been lied constantly to by politicians ever since the Campbell era until now, and they just want politicians to be sincere and tell the truth, right? And Keir Starmer is the absolute kind of like apotheosis of everything these people resent in politics.
Yeah. That the ingrained racism and fantasies of violence now present in some small town communities can be assuaged by a waffling speech from Jeremy and the promise to build more council homes. Okay, so your argument here, from the point of view of a Marxist apparently, or a Leninist, or Leninist, Trotskyist, or whatever you fucking are this week, is that improving people's material conditions has no impact on stopping the far right. Is that your actual position here, Paul? Because that's what it appears to be sort of saying here. Like, if you're building more council homes would certainly help stop the far right. Because it would mean that the pressure on housing, which then gets used to scapegoat immigrant communities that come in, wouldn't be there because people would be able to get houses. You see?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That is why, no matter how many anti-racist demos they organise, the one thing they can never do is go into the beleaguered working-class communities where reform is strong and show, by building cohesion and resilience, there is a way back from far-right radicalisation. That is the work Labour MPs and councillors do day in, day out. Mate, Keir Starmer was fucking sucking off Enoch Powell. You don't get to claim that the Labour Party are the anti-far right party when their policies seem to be echoing much of Farage's. They seem to be trying to outdo Farage in being as shit as they can to migrants. What cured communism of its madness in the 1930s was catastrophic defeat. When you say cured it, you mean they were murdered by the Nazis and you're shitting on them today, you ghoul.
This It's just completely insane. And again, that's what's coming down the line for the Labour Party. They're the ones facing catastrophic defeat. New party or no new party.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what's really funny? You know what's really fun about all of this, right? Is that even most polls that you look at that aren't find out now, which obviously boosts reform because they're for some reason desperate to try and will this party into government, right?
Yeah.
If you look at most polls by reputable pollsters, not shitty ones like YouGov, the plurality of people are not regressive. They may not be like left wing because the Lib Dems are not they're not regressive, but they aren't left wing either. But you combine the SNP Labour, Lib Dem, Green vote or whatever it is, and it is bigger than the Reform Tory vote broadly.
Yeah.
The Labour Party have over 400 MPs.
Yep.
They have a larger number of people in the House of Lords. The APPG for fair elections is the biggest parliamentary group in government. There is popular support for electoral reform, and they could, even if they just implemented ranked choice voting, not even PR, just change the way we would do our ballots with the same constituencies to ranked choice voting, and they would lock reform out of government immediately.
Yeah.
But that would involve a potential government where they had to compromise with left-wing parties. So if you really want to look at a political party that's going to be to blame for Farage coming into power, it's explicitly Keir Starmer's government, because they would rather Farage became Prime Minister than have to countenance the idea that the left might have some way of influencing them and that they would lose their electoral strength of being the quote-unquote natural party of progressivism.
So when,
obviously it doesn't represent it politically, but...
Are you saying that when push comes to shove, Liberals will always side with fascists over leftists?
Yes.
Fair.
And the thing is, right, is
Fair
that
point.
there are plenty of left-wing people who are happy to ally with Liberals. Like, we've seen it with people on the poll I put on Twitter, like Plaid Cymru and the Green Party is like a liberal, like a left liberal party, right? They're willing to make those alliances to keep the far right out. You saw liberal parties allying with socialists in France to keep the far right out.
Yeah.
Not even liberals in like the sense that the Parti Socialiste, who are basically a liberal party, was part of the NFP. They even had electoral agreements broadly with the Macronites of the French electorate to try and keep the Rassemblement National out of seats. Like, people on the left are very willing to work with liberals. They're not willing to work with genocidal war criminals.
Yeah. Also, again, just to bring it back to the historical example, lots of communists and socialists voted for Hindenburg over Hitler to stop him. And they hated Hindenburg with a passion, and yet they did it. But, you know, you shit on those people too, you cunt. The tribunals that jailed the socialist leaders turned out to be Nazi ones, not red. Could you sound less gleeful about that genocidal slaughter, please? Maybe? Within a year, world communism abandoned its rhetoric of hatred against liberals and socialists and embraced them, in alliance that in 1936 defeated far-right electorally, first in Spain and then in France. Okay, are you also going to... Okay, you're ignoring the fact that during that exact same period, Stalin signed a pact literally with Hitler?
Yes.
Look, I think that complicates things. I think your nice little neat narrative doesn't quite work out, historically speaking. And nor did it for Stalin in the end, because, you know, they invaded and killed 26 million Soviet citizens. Cool. But there is no Comintern to save people like Sultana and Lally. Only Russian and Chinese bot farms to drive their social media traffic just as they drive reforms. Bravo, that is a 10 out of 10 move on the bullshit chart. Well done.
And and also, like, there are Russian bot farms. Do you think that they're amplifying Fiona Lally?
No. The last thing they do is amplify communists, really, yeah. Which is ironic, because some communists do seem to want to support Russia. I think just for historical echoes, I imagine, but
it's just what's so frustrating, right? So the article that I mentioned before about the luxury belief stuff was essentially saying it's a luxury belief to care about genocide in Palestine.
Yeah.
Whereas it is a normal belief to care about the invasion of Ukraine, which essentially comes from this position that a lot of people have, that the reality is that you either have to be pro-Russia, pro-Palestine, or you have to be pro-Western, i.e. pro-Israel, pro-Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, dumb, because in reality, the plurality opinion across the entire Western world at this point is pro-Ukraine, pro-Palestine.
Yep.
That's just, it is the plurality opinion everywhere. In every single country, Israel is hated. Israel is absolutely reviled across the West now. And Ukraine is supported. In this country, it's like 90% support for reform and like 60% support for reform for Ukraine, sorry, and 60% support for Palestine.
Yeah.
Like, this idea that somehow that is where the fault lines lie, as if it's you have to choose a geopolitical bloc. And I'm like, no, I think that imperialism is bad, and I think, and because what is driving both of these invasions is the same ethno-nationalism. It's the Zionism of Israel and the Greater Russia chauvinism of Russia.
Yeah.
The desire to reclaim this kind of revanchist claim on territory lost that Lenin supposedly gave away in Vladimir Putin's.
Don't mention Lenin. Paul Mason might have a conniption. Don't. No.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that they want to regain, they want to reclaim that territory that they believe is rightfully theirs because of the Greater Russian people and what they lost post declining empire, right? In the same way that Israelis feel like they lost the Holy Land 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same kind of ethno-nationalism, the same kind of like revanchism that drives both things, and yet people on both sides of the campus divide on this refuse to recognize it.
But how do we think the opinion on Russia will change after the nuclear war that Trump seems to want?
I mean, yeah, true.
Like, what you did? A bit of an overreaction, mate? You're going to start moving nuclear subs around? That seems like a bit of an issue. Maybe don't do that, you dopey bastard. Like, when we said, could you stop being so nice to Russia, we didn't mean go the complete opposite way and, like, fucking melt down St. Petersburg. That's not what we called for, yeah? Just, you know, maybe don't fuck Ukraine over would be good. Which, to be fair, okay, he seems to have done a 180 on that, so that's nice. Anyway, where were we? Reforms. Only Labour can govern Britain as an alternative to a Tory Farage tie-up. It doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of being an alternative to Tory anything.
Oh, yeah, because it's not an issue, though.
No, to be fair, it isn't that. No, that's true. Those of us who are critical of the party's performance in power have to stop. When are you critical of them exactly? Because it hasn't been in this fucking article. You've been critical of dead communists and not live fascists, basically.
And TikTokers.
And TikTokers. Well, like, everyone is... Look, if there's one message my channel is that dead communists and live TikTokers are the real enemy. If you one takeaway from my channel... Honestly, I do feel like... I'm not necessarily myself a massive fan of the KPD or anything like that, but as a lover of history and a studier of these things, to see this man besmirch these brave people who were literally like tortured and slaughtered, and their corpses were just dumped in the street, and their families were hounded out of the country, like treated really appallingly from the very beginning, before they even started any roundups of Jewish people or disabled people or anything. They came after the communists, and Paul Mason shits on them. Like, you aren't fit to fucking tie their laces. You absolute gutter snipe piece of trash.
Yeah, Paul Mason is so detestable, he's making a side with Stalinists.
Yeah.
Which they literally were. They were literally Stalinists.
They were very, very actually, literally Stalinists, yes. Yeah.
Right, not in the kind of fucking nouveau British politics smear way in which we describe any authoritarian as being a Stalinist.
Or the way that weird, modern, sort of pinko people might refer to themselves as Stalinists. The KPD would hate you. Just know that. You wouldn't have been welcome in their party. They might have beaten you to death. I'm just saying. Anyway, partly because you're really gay. They were pretty homophobic. Anyway, let's not go into it. Stop. Right. The type, right. Those of us who are critical of the party's performance in power have to start every conversation from that premise. And only Labour can do what Lally dreams of doing. Doing a fucking socialist revolution. Because that's what she was saying, wasn't it? What?
Yeah, he's making the moral case for socialism, Kevin.
Very much so.
And unless you can see that he's going to advance the class struggle, Keir Starmer is, then you don't really understand social democracy from a Marxist perspective.
Very much so.
Honestly, I've not said that enough whilst I've been reading this.
No, that was his magnum opus. I think. Building a coalition of progressive and socially conservative working class voters in the left behind towns. Is that what a communist wants? Necessarily? I don't know. Starting a new party without programme, name or constitution, and with the founding premise that Starmer is a war criminal, can have one intent only, to take votes from Labour and put Farage into Downing Street. Well, I mean, has he considered not being a war criminal?
It's not difficult.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's not difficult to not be a war criminal. I'm not even Prime Minister. I'm not a war criminal.
Really? Because I heard otherwise. Oh, I don't want to go into it. It's drama, but, you know.
YouTube drama slop, let's go.
Exactly. Someone said that Navarra was involved in the Rwanda genocide. Thoughts? Sorry.
I mean, you found me out. I am indeed a paid-up member of the Intera Hamway. Joke. Before
you can't say
be
that.
Yvette Cooper.
You can't say that. You get 14 years. It's terrorism. Anyway,
are the Intera Hamway still a prescribed terrorist?
I have no
fucking
idea.
hope so.
Do they? Well, yeah. Is there like a what do you call it? A statute of limitations on it? Does it run out? Is it like copyright? After 80 years, you can be a Nazi again. Like, what is it? Like I don't know.
Because despite the Rwandan genocide being 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, the Interahamwe are still a real thing. They are still a militant group in Eastern Congo.
Yeah. Whereas there are probably loads of terrorist groups that don't really exist functionally anymore. Is Al Qaeda still around? You don't hear much about them anymore. Their PR game has gone off the boil. To be honest with you, they've not taken advantage of TikTok or anything. Rubbish. Honestly, that's the problem. When you peak with 9/11. You rest on your laurels, don't you? They just don't have the fire in the belly anymore. Anyway, thank you, Boy Meets Minnie, for 29 months. I promise you, I'm not from a Russian bot farm. So that's what someone who was from a Russian bot farm, who wanted me to believe they weren't from a Russian bot farm, would say. So everyone go and follow the obviously from a Russian bot farm Boy Meets Minnie, because they're very cool, actually. So go and do that. Anyway, I think I'm basically done. Are you carrying on? I don't know.
No, I think that's enough for me. Paul Mason really takes it out, yeah.
He does. He is he's a stamina test. Because he makes me question whether humanity was a mistake.
just stop the ride. I want to get off.
Yeah, exactly. Like this timeline where I have to deal with fucking Paul Mason. I don't have to. I chose to. It's funny. It's funny to me that an idiot writes these things and gets paid to write these. Honestly, the only thing in Britain that's like a booming industry is people stealing a living pretending to be real journalists. They're fucking everywhere.
Honestly, it's so true. It's so true.
And not just like even weird like Substack people, which I get, I guess, but like people in like supposedly legitimate newspapers who will just write random shit. Oh, Jeremy Corbyn made me hate cheese. Like what? just utter rubbish.
Oh dear. There was a Jeremy Corbyn is to blame for something completely stupid article very recently, wasn't there? Or am I just imagining things?
Was there? I don't know. Possibly. I saw a fantastic Mamdani one, which I did bookmark.
Oh, the Melanie Phillips one. Oh my god, that was fucking insane, wasn't it?
Which one?
The Melanie Phillips one, where she said that the support for Mamdani amongst New York City Jews means that Jews are the enemies of Jews, and I was like, she is fucking insane.
Oh, I didn't even mean that. I mean a really silly one, which was this
right.
absolute banger, which I'll promise you will just be the last little thing I show. F in ethics. Zohra Mamdani laughed off stealing a table in college.
Honestly, I mean,
that's what you've got. You've got he stole a table. Excellent. You know what? I thought he was absolutely fine, but it turns out he's a table anti-Semite.
Also, hang on a minute, can't I just comment on that fucking next article down? Excuse me, and This is the point that we're at,
Yep.
where we're literally doing Osborneism on our councils in perpetuity because this government won't raise fucking taxes.
Well, I quote tweeted this with "I fucking hate this government. I swear to God," because literally we can't have anything good, even allotments, even just being able to grow a bit of veg, even the
Literally,
most
they're
basic
literally
of
trying to
working
spite-
class, like a breaking up of the mundanity of working for capital. No, you're not allowed it. No.
Yeah, literally, again, attacking the very communities that she's supposed to fucking represent.
Yeah, she's in the bin. Get in the bin, bitch. That's where you belong. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
They're just fucking laying the ground for reform to win in every single area. It's like, yep, this community thing. Like,
Yeah.
the one thing people miss is the communities that they used to inhabit. Right? Oh, the country does not feel the same anymore. It's because we destroyed society with neoliberalism. It's not migration. And she's going, yep, we're going to do this even more.
Yeah. When we said change, what we said was more austerity. Yeah. I mean, just fucking just end this government, seriously. Who should we go over to?
We've got the noisy immigrant over on the YouTubes.
Well, presumably, would they be going on the Twitch as well?
Yeah, but I want to try and split it into. I can get be able to give my audience, be able to throw my audience at multiple people.
Yeah.
Spread the love around.
Well, thank you for the message, by the way, on YouTube. It went back. I can't see it. It's gone. Sorry. Thank you. I'm sure it was very funny.
So I'll go in for Into Cosmopolitics over on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. She's cool. She's good beans.
Anyway, everyone go follow KFLogan1875 over on all of the platforms. That is at PloppyBombAmon over on the YouTubes as well. Oh, it's Cosmopolitics Streamiversary, and I think she's doing a big 24-hour.
Yeah,
thing
18 hours
potentially.
she's been on apparently. So give her money because that's fucking incredible.
Demented also, but incredible as well.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, go and check out No Justice MTG, obviously. And who else raided in? Someone raided in. Oh god, my mind is mush. My mind is absolute fucking mush.
Hannah Reloaded.
Hannah Reloaded. Thank you. See, you remember things. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with the stuff. Are you back tomorrow? I don't know.
Yes, I will also be back tomorrow.
Cool. I'll check out those streams.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Bye.
Goodbye.
Not me.
They really wanted me to play high school volleyball because I was the best player, but I was like, nah, my boobs are too big. They get in the way.
Conversation in the bedroom. Probably didn't go like that.
Whoa, I get a double triple rate.
Great job. And it's really when you look at their teams, they're mirrors of one another. They're tough, they're physical, they run the ball well, they do a lot of things well. I mean, San Francisco's got a great running back.
Yo, Raiders, the base MTG, and KF Logan. Welcome into Girl Christina, I'm having a